Oh, okay, cool. Now I feel like weird. I'm like, oh, I'm being recorded.
Yeah. Forever. Don't make mistake. Damn it.
I'm now like, okay, don't swear. Don't swear. Oh, sweet. We've got more people joining. That's exciting. Yeah, it's being recorded. And like I said, just before others joined, if you're having any issues installing R, let me know now. And yeah. I love the little JC numbers popping up.
JC, yes. Anonymous JCU users.
It's funny, I still remember my ID number from my undergrad. Like, and my like password from that. I think I had to, like, you know, you have to log in so many times when you're doing undergrad for all the e-learning stuff. Whew.
Do you want to give it till 5 past or something? So like 3 more minutes?
Yeah, I'll wait a few more minutes.
But who has the lowest JCU number?
Oh,
I just got a 2. I got a 22 number. There's an 8 there.
I'm 1.
You're 1.
You're 1. Oh.
Someone the other day said they had one that was like letters, like before they even had the JC.
Really?
Yeah.
I have letters.
Nice.
Oh.
It was your department and then your initials.
Oh.
Ah.
So
that's kind of cool.
I was BS for biosciences.
Yeah, I think my lab manager has the same because she was an undergrad here.
Cool.
There.
I was an undergrad here, but we didn't have computers.
Oh God, I would never have been able to do my degree when I'd actually have to like go find the books and read through papers. What would you do then when you wanted an article like from us? You'd have to like email, like you'd have to write to them.
Emails.
Yeah, you'd have to like write to them and
send a
post
letter.
it. Yeah, can you post me there?
They used to have a lot of journals upstairs in the library.
Yeah.
They've got rid of all of those. So you'd be down sitting, you'd be on the first floor there, sitting in the stacks looking at the abstracts. And then you go through code words, you know, like keywords in the abstracts, and you have to look it up, and then you have to get a number, and then you had to look in the back to see where to go to get the number, and then you could go upstairs and look for the paper.
Oh my word, we have it so easy.
Yeah, so easy.
So easy. Someone's just install R first. Okay, yeah. So let's just wait 1 more minute. Nice to know. We've got people from Cairns. I'm actually joining from New South Wales, so that would be cool. We should try and see who's like our furthest afield person. Everybody loves R. R. So many pirate jokes.
Okay, so it looks like Kevin is there in the chat to help people with installation issues. So,
oh, okay, awesome. Nice, Kevin.
I'm volunteering Kevin to do that. But
that's
yeah, maybe
good.
we should, it's 5 past now. Maybe we can start because it should take us 50 minutes or something to go through anyway. So
yeah, and yeah, anyone who's having issues, I mean, there's points where I'll stop and obviously check as we go through. But if you're having an issue, just turn your mic on and say so, or post in the chat, and then Kevin just let me know to like pause or something. So we're using today there we go, a link from the software carpentry website. Can everyone see my screen here? This one here with RStudio open on it?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, cool. And I basically just copied the tutorial into an R Markdown so you can sort of see me type it as we go. But just a couple of things. So as I said, if you've got your R open and you've installed it, just before we start, one of the things I find really useful is I'm not very good at reading like black text on white. So you can actually change your studio appearance. So if you go up here to RStudio and click preferences, you can go to appearance, and there's different RStudio for themes. So like classic, modern, sky. But here in the editor theme, you can pick one of these different appearances that you might find easier to read. So I personally find chaos to read the easiest, which is kind of funny because I'm quite chaotic. But that's a really easy, oh, there's even one called Dracula. A really easy way to make it like easier for your eyes, especially if you're doing like a lot of coding and you're going to be on it all night. I find it a lot nicer than having the white and black. So you just click apply and then it's applied. And another one here, my text is probably larger than yours and I can make it smaller or larger, but all you need to do is on Mac is Command, I'd imagine Windows is Control or Alt, but you just do Command plus will zoom in your text and make that bigger for you. Again, like better for your eyes. And if you do the minus, it'll take it back out again. So you can just fiddle around with those things and find the best way that works for you to read it. So now if we just imagine I've opened R and it's talking about the basic layout. So the first thing we have is down here is our interactive console. This would be if you were typing in R, where you type to do your code. And we also have our environment and our little window over here that can give us like our files, plots, packages, and help, which is always a really useful thing to have. Now, as I've opened an R Markdown, which is done by pressing up here, you can do an R script, R notebook, R Markdown. And this is just where I write my code to keep it. This is what we see in the editor panel here. This, as I said, this R Markdown is based on the software carpentry here, and I can always upload this afterwards to our website so you can look at this again, or you can just go straight to this website because this is the same thing.
I just put it in the chat as well. So.
Thank you, Itema. So think about our workflow. There are two main ways you can work with RStudio. So you can write, as I said, in the console and save it as an R file and run it later, which is good if you're just doing like quick little things like little calculations or checking like code works. But it's pretty annoying that you have to keep repeating yourself and keep writing it. So one of the really good things in RStudio is you can create shortcuts to run command. So then you can put in your lines of command and you save it here in this R Markdown file and you'll keep it for later and you can come back to it and edit it again. And if you want, you can run a whole file that will create an R document. For example, like if I was to like click run up here or insert or whatever, this is how you can make these shortcuts. So yeah, you can insert R chunks you can click up here. So if I highlighted here and then I clicked insert and clicked R, it creates this R chunk where I could write, my code and run it in there. That's obviously not a function, so it's not going to work. And then I would just click run and like run selected line and it would run it, but I haven't got anything there, so it's not going to work. And then it says in control and return in Windows is how you'd run the line, or in Mac it's command and return, so the enter button. But really good thing here is, so Windows it's Control Alt and I, but in Mac, which I'm using, it's Command Alt and I. So if I just press Command Alt I, it inserts a code chunk for me. So really useful, really quick way than having to go up here, click insert, pick your one that you want to insert. Just literally do Command Alt I, and then you have an R chunk. If everyone's got RStudio open, I'd definitely recommend just trying that shortcut and making sure that you understand it, maybe take a note. And then, like I said, if I was to do a calculation or something, so here going into using the basics, R can be used like a calculator. So I've got here 1 plus 100, and then talking about running that code, I can either click here, this run button, I can highlight it, I can click run selected lines, or as I said, easiest way to do is Command enter. So if everyone wants to maybe just insert an R chunk with a Command Alt I, and then just do some simple little addition like 1 + 1, and try pressing Command Return, and just check that works for me. If anyone's got any issues and that's not working for them, please say.
Hey, Chloe, you might want to just mention what the difference between R script versus our Markdown document is, just in case people are using R scripts.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't think of that. There you go, Kevin, you can answer that question because I just use our Markdown. R script is what you write. R script is what you write in the console, isn't it? That's what I said earlier, you create an R file.
So, what time I think he's answering.
Oh.
No, it's right, yeah. I was just going to say the same thing. You can just create separate files. So you can use an R script file, like a .r file, versus a Markdown file, which is more of like an interactive sort of notebook document. So you have both code and text chunks that you might use to document your code, whereas the R script is more just like an R file that you would just use to write a script that runs directly, as opposed to doing more interactive.
Yeah, that was said a lot better than probably what I would have said.
Can you go to, like, you can just show like how you can create an R script versus a Markdown, but you know, like if you just press the add. Like, yeah, so if people are just starting, yeah, you could go new script.
So this, yeah, sorry, I should have done that. So yeah, this would be an R script where, what can you just do 1 + 100 in it, or do you still have to put it in a chunk?
No, you don't have to put it in a chunk.
Okay.
So the whole thing's like one big chunk, basically.
Okay, yeah, sorry guys, I never use R scripts anymore. I do it all in R Markdown because it's really easy to write notes around what you're doing so you can remember what you're doing, because I will forget. So that would be an R script, whereas, yeah, as I said, I'm working in R Markdown, so you can see what I'm doing as I go. And then here it's just saying if you're using R from the command line instead of from within RStudio. So if you're like writing right in here, or I suppose anything in an R script, you can use Control-C to cancel a command. So obviously you don't really need to do that with a calculation because that's a very simple command. But if you had like a big function running or a plot or some kind of analysis and you realize there's something wrong with my code, this isn't going to work, rather than waiting for it to run and telling you it doesn't work, you can just do Control and C, and that will cancel it. So if we're just thinking about more, again, about using R as a calculator, the order of operations is the same as what we learned at school. So at my school, we learned BODMAS or BIDMAS, brackets, indices, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. Hey. So for example, here, if we did 3 + 5 × 2, it will do the timesing first and then the, oh, come on, don't do this to me. There we go. Equals 13. But obviously then if you wanted to do this part first, you'd need to put it in your brackets, parentheses, and again, if you run it, then you get 16. So it is just a big fancy calculator, which you can do a lot more fun things with that we'll get onto in the later talks. So as it says, it can get a bit unwieldy when you're doing all this, but obviously it clarifies your intentions, because as much as R is a genius, it's not psychic and it won't actually remember what you want to do. So this is a really complicated way of doing that with all your brackets, whereas it's a lot more clear if you'll just think about the order of operations and do this. So again, 23 and again, 23.
Well, Chloe, before you go on, can you just show everyone how you would make a R Markdown file? So someone in the chat saying they can't see the run or knit, etc. They only see the console and terminal. So they haven't opened a Markdown file. So like a new file.
Yeah, I was going to do that, but I thought that might be one of the later topics. But so up here, if you see on my screen, there's this plus and a page. If you just click on this R Markdown here, let's do new Markdown, and then it'll up here in your editor pane. So that's it'll open a new R Markdown. Does that answer the question? And then, as you can see, you can just type your text or you can put in your code chunks.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah. Okay. And then here you can see, guys, in your code chunks, you can actually write comments to yourself. So you remember what you're doing, which I think is really useful, particularly when you're getting into tidyverse and data wrangling. So you can remember what each of the steps you've sort of done in your code are. So if you didn't have this hash in front of it, it would read it as code in the text and you'd get an error. But here, if you put a hash in front of that text, it then is italicized and it no longer reads that as part of the code. So then will work. So I think that's a really useful way that you can add little reminders to yourself on how to do your different things. And then really small or large numbers you can do in scientific notation. So 5e, 5,000, as there's no minus sign. And then also, as it is bit calculator, we have these different mathematical functions. So, you know, we've got sin, and you can do a natural log to base 10, and expressions. But the main thing is you don't need to worry about remembering all these function names, because one, you have Google, but also RStudio is really useful in it can tell you what you're trying to type. So if I wanted to do log 10, but I couldn't remember that it was 10, I could type log, and then if you press, either it comes up just then as you saw it, as I start to type it in an insert chart in a chunk, and then you've got all your different logs that you can do here and other things that start with log. So I'll, again, I don't know if I'm doing sin, and I press tab, it'll come up with everything starting with SI, and I can look through and be like, ah, there's sin. Which is a really useful function of RStudio, auto completion. You'll notice it when you obviously get to other functions and more intricate processes. When you're trying to remember what you're doing, it's really useful to be able to just find it as you're typing it. Also, as I said earlier, we've got a really good help function over here. So if you can't remember how to use, or if you can't remember the function like formula, you can just type a question mark in front of your function, hit Command and Enter, and over here in the help window, it'll open up the log page and it will then give you all the help options that you need. So you've got your usage, your arguments. So description here obviously explains the log function, then how you can use this. We've got log, log B, log 10, and then over here are arguments. So this is what you would add into log. So instead of log 1 or whatever. So yeah, and that works with anything. I don't know, like let's do log library. Library, loading, attaching, and listing of packages. So if you're ever stuck, you can just do question mark, the function that you're trying to remember, or also you can Google it. Stack Overflow is a wonderful source of everything that you would want to help you with running R. We can also do comparisons in R. So this can be sometimes useful if you've got like maybe 2 data sets or 2 vectors and you want to compare them. So we can check if they're equal. So is one the same as, so that double, what is that name? I've just had a mind blank. Double equals sign, wow, is the same as. Now, if you were to put an exclamation mark and then an equal sign, that would tell you if it's not equal to 2. So again, so if I did 2 equals 3, you'd get true. Or if I did 3 is 3 not, you'd also get true because they are not equal to one another. Then we have the less than and greater than symbols. So is 1 less than 2 true? If I was to do 3, it would tell me it's false. And again here, greater than is 1, greater than 0, true. Let's just do, I don't know, -2, false. So it's pretty useful just to check different numbers, or yeah, that's a data set you might have. And then we have less than or equal to. So that's the combination of the arrow and the equal sign. True. So if I change that to 2, false. 2 is not less than or equal to 1. And then finally, we have greater than or equal to. Is 1 greater than or equal to 9? True. -9, sorry, is 1 greater than or equal to 9? False. So yeah, it's a really easy way just to use R as a calculator. So just some little side notes about comparing numbers. Never use the double equals unless they are both integers, so whole numbers. And then this is because certain computers may represent decimal numbers with a certain degree of precision. So 2 numbers which look the same when printed out by R may actually have a different underlying represented. So if you had like 1.3, one computer might read that, you know, if you copied and pasted 1.3 into something, it might be 1.3 or it might be 1.32167, whatever. So if you are going to do that, then instead you should use the all equal function. Which will work around that problem. And if you want to know more about that, there is some further reading available in the Software Carpentry website. Now, variables and assignments. This is one of the greatest things I think of R, because you can just put different variables in and assign them into a different, I mean, you can take different numbers, different data, different functions, and you can all assign this into just a single variable. So here,
sorry, before we go on, should we just check in and see if everyone?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
yeah,
we're going through pretty quick. So
yeah, my bad.
No, that's all right. Yeah, it's good.
Is everyone doing okay? Oop, I was trying to see where's the chat function at more chat.
So what did we just look at just now? We've done
we're just gonna doing inserting R chunks, running command, and then basic maths and comparisons.
Which is a lot to take in, I guess. Like if this is their first time using R, but they are sort of like the fundamental things that you would do in R, right? Like most things are math in a way, and then all the logic and algorithms and stuff are built up by these sort of comparisons and like Boolean statements like true and false builds up all the larger sort of more complex things you'll eventually get to, I guess. But it's definitely a fundamental starting point. So yeah, if anyone has any trouble, wants to go over things, because we're over halfway through already and we've got plenty of time. So we can slow down and go to things. Go back.
Yeah, sorry if I'm going too quickly, guys. I think when you're used to doing all this stuff, when it becomes second nature eventually, and you don't even like think about it. Exactly, so if I am going too quickly, please just say. And yeah, if you want to discuss something more, if you're trying this yourself on your work, on your computer, and you're having any trouble, please just speak up. Because I don't want anyone getting left behind. Obviously, this is the
stop basics. Again at the end of this section or something.
Yeah.
Sure. Cool.
So yeah. Assignments, storing valuables and variables, values in variables. And that's what this wonderful little arrow here does. So let's say I want to make X 1 out of 40, so which in R's brain is 0.025. And this will actually come up here in your environment. So if everyone does X, or you can do a different division or whatever, you'll see X comes up and then it gives you the value of X. So you'll always have a store of your different values and assignments up here in the environment. So yeah, everyone give that a go, and let me know if you have any problems.
Yeah, you could even try assigning y instead of x.
Crazy. Yeah. What's your favorite letter?
Yeah.
But the great thing is about this is as you have this assignment, you can then put that into your different functions. So as we said earlier, you've got log and your different functions here, and instead of doing log 0.025, you can just do log x, which will then log your x. So I could type that as log, there we go, comes up, x, command enter, just to run that line, and again I get the same variable. Or hey, I could even do log 10.
So if you typed in like 1 divided by 40 in that log function, it would be the same result?
Let's see. So 1 divided by 40, yeah, it's the same as if you just did x.
Cool.
And as you get to use R more, you'll realize how useful this is, that you can just store like data frames or like columns of data or whatever into one variable, so you don't have to keep writing out repetitively the same thing. Variables can also be reassigned, which is something you have to remember if you've done a load of code and at the start you've assigned it as something and you've then run some function on it and then you've reassigned it. But then if you go back to the previous chunk, you then have to reassign it again or give it a different name. So here, even though right now we have x is 0.025, you can reassign it with x operator 100, and now x is 100 rather than 0.025. And then assignment values can contain the variable being assigned to. So x can now become x plus 1. So as you see now, it becomes 101. I would highly recommend, I mean, I don't like doing this if I then want to go back to x again, it's going to become 102, 103, unless you reassigned x as 100. Every time you do this, x plus 1, you're going to keep adding a number. So I think it's always more useful to have, x would be 100, and then let's say this is x plus 1. So you can still keep your 100 value in there. But then also you can use it here in a new variable, like I just did there, x1, instead you've got y, which is x times 2. As remember, this symbol here means multiplication. So now we've got x equals 100, x1 is 101, and y is 200. And again, if you were to change any of this around, it would then change the outcome and would change your assignment values. Has anyone got any issues with that? How are we doing? If not, we can obviously have question time at the end. So it says here, the right-hand side of the assignment, this part, can be any valid R expression, and the right-hand side is always evaluated before the assignment occurs. So if I was to do something wrong here, it wouldn't work. So let's take out the X. So now I'm going to get an error telling me that there's an unexpected multiplication in Y because I haven't given it a value to multiply. So you don't need to worry that if your function in your assignment is incorrect, R will tell you before it assigns it. It's not going to let you assign something that's not going to work. So let's just try that again, and now it works. Do I always have to start a new chunk after running a chunk? No, I mean, it's up to you. It's, I suppose, preference on what you're actually doing. So I personally like to keep my chunks. I like to insert a new chunk when I'm doing a new command or a new process. That's why it's really useful, again, having that Command-Alt-I as the shortcut to insert a tab. But you could I could just keep running the whole workshop in this one chunk, as long as I was just running one line. So, I could Y1 X divided by 2. You know, I could keep just adding and adding functions into, you know, assignments into here. Oh, well, obviously, oh, that's because I didn't do that. But but at the same time, you might get to a point where you've got loads of different functions and commands, and obviously if you press this up here, it might be able to run them all at once, or it might freak out. So I personally find it's better to do a different command chunk for each process I'm doing.
Do you always have, there's a question in the chat, do you always have to start a new chunk after running a chunk?
That's what I was just explaining.
Okay.
Was that not? Sorry, that's what I said. Sorry. Okay. So yeah, if you want to do a new chunk, if you want to run it all in the same chunk, you can do. You just got to be careful not to reassign something midway or get confused. So I personally just find it easier to just do a new chunk when I want to do a new process. So Command Alt I, insert a new chunk, and then, you know, whatever I want to do. And then just Command Run. So yeah, and then if you are doing it all in one big chunk and you don't want to run all the lines, that's how you can just click on one line that you want to run, Command Return it, because as I said, if you click up here, it's going to run everything, which you might not want to do. So hopefully that explains that. So just here quickly, variable names can contain letters, numbers, underscores, and full stops, but no spaces. It won't read, it will freak out if you put the space in it. But they must start with a letter or a full stop followed by a letter, and they cannot start with a number or an underscore. Variables beginning with a full stop, a period, are what's known as hidden variables, and different people use different conventions for long variable names. So for example, these could be some of the different variable names you could use that would work. So periods, so full stops between words, that would work. And then we have underscore between words, again, that would work. And people using you know, upper and lowercase to separate their words, that would also work. And also it is possible to use the equals button for an operator for an assignment. So if we do that again, our X goes back to 0.025. But I would sort of say try to avoid doing that, because that can get a bit confusing. And normally general R lingo is everyone uses the operator symbol here, the arrow, rather than the equals, because you will also use equals in your functions and things like this, and that will get quite confusing if you've got a load of equals in it. And yeah, it's the most common thing to do. And also I've just put in here, side note, for a shortcut for inserting an operator, when you're in an R chunk or in the console, again, depending on your Mac or window, you just do Alt or Option, and then you press the dash button, and that creates that. So we've got already some really useful shortcuts. Again, we've just got Command Alt I, insert, and then we've got for our operator, Alt or Option and dash is insert the operator, and then yeah, if we do 1 divided by 40, and then Command and Enter is to run it. Okay, and then just quickly here, they've given us some examples of potential variable names. So we've got min underscore height, we've got max dot height, we've got underscore age, we've got dot mass, mass length, min length, to width, and Celsius to Kelvin. Now, can anyone here tell me which ones of these won't work? Considering that, as I said, the factors earlier. I won't repeat it because I think I'll give you the obvious answer. But if anyone can tell me which ones won't work, that would be cool. Math would be hidden. Yep, nicely done, Vicky. That's like the trick question, but I'm impressed you got that one. You're an R whiz already. And 2 widths. Yep, that one wouldn't work because it's starting with a number. And then there's one more that wouldn't work. Oh, actually, wait, yeah, would min length work? I don't know if it would.
Do you try assigning them?
Well, that's what I was going to say, because in a second, if I make it an R chunk, it automatically tells you which ones don't work.
Ah.
So if we just now, so if I just do parentheses R, make it an R rank, it automatically tells us which ones don't work. So yeah, min length would work because it's in the middle of 2 words, but the ones that won't work are age, because it starts with an underscore, and 2 widths because it starts with a 2. And as Vicky said, because math starts with a dot, that would be a hidden one.
Will min length actually work? Can you assign something to that?
Yeah, that's what I was just wondering. So I didn't think it would. So let's do min length. I don't know, 1.
Because it's saying like min minus length or something.
Yeah. So it says in the software carve-through that it should work, but I don't think it's not working. So maybe unless you do that in the console, maybe it's different if you do it in the console. No. Min length doesn't work. Unless maybe it did say no. But yeah. Well, so yeah, don't start your variables with underscores, numbers, or put dashes in them, guys. It won't work.
And Pete's right. Peter's right. He's gloating.
Yeah.
An R wizard.
So yes, that's creating assignments and creating variables. And yeah, one of the joys of using in our Markdown, using this insert code chunk here, is that if you do something wrong before you run it, it will tell you. Whereas if you're just typing in the console, it won't tell you till you've pressed go. So I find that very useful, and also it'll tell you what the issue is. So here it says unexpected token. So if I was to remove that, it would then be okay with that. And then here, unexpected token widths, and that's again because of the 2. So widths would work, but 2 won't. And it will come up with a little X error on what line the error code is on. Okay. Does anyone have any more questions before I move on to vectors? Okay, so one final thing for R is vectorization. And this is meaning that variables and functions can have vectors as values. So unlike maths and physics, a vector in R describes a set of values in a certain order of the same data type. So here, 1 to 5, if we were just to run that, it gives us a vector of the values 1 through to 5. So again, if anyone wants to try that, so you could do 3 to 9, and then we've got 3 to 9. You can also then use this in maths and functions. So 2 to the power of 1 to 5. We've got 2, 4, 8, 16, and 32. And again, this would work is if you now made X, so that's your assignment variable. If you made that your vector, X is 1 to 5. And then instead of writing 2 to the power of 1 to 5, you could just do 2 to X, and you'll get the same answer. So yeah, really useful way to, if you just wanted to make like a simple data set, you could do like counts, and now I would use Alt dash to do that. And then, I don't know, 4 to 16. And now you've got that as a vector, which will say 4 to 16. And then I realized that we'll actually get onto that stuff next week, so I'll stop there. But yeah, it's a really easy way to make vectors and variables and have all these in your own little code. just remember to be quite clear when you're assigning variables or anything that you know exactly what it is. So when you're actually doing your own data, I would not recommend using X. I'd recommend, like, you know, whatever your data is, width of turtle shell, you know, so you know exactly what you're doing. And now for the last little bit, we're just going to get on to managing our environment. Is there a shortcut for piping? Yes. Pete, you know there's a shortcut for piping. And yes, you are getting ahead. So that would be contain.
I actually don't know what it is.
Really? You teach type? Oh my God, okay. Command Shift M is your pipe. So
Thanks.
how do you know? You must have known that. Like, come on, you teach tidyverse.
Where I
You're
didn't.
tidyverse wizard,
wasted
mate.
characters.
I know. So
I like doing
anyway,
things
guys.
the long way.
Anyway, guys, don't worry about that. That's a later thing when we talk about pipes. So a few useful commands for interacting with your R session. Now, if anyone's used Bash, these are very similar. So we have ls, which means list. So if you want to just list all your variables and functions that are in your global environment. So over here, you just do ls parentheses and then run command, and it will tell you everything that you've got in your environment. I'm running another RStudio session somewhere else, so that's why it's telling me I've not just got X, Y, and Y1. I've also got my other things that I'm working on. So if everyone wants to just try doing that, it's ls and then that, or ls. Does tab work? Tab will bring up your ls functions. So now if we had any hidden variables, like earlier where we did the .mass, if you wanted to see these, ls will not show you them. But if you do ls all names true, it will then show me any hidden ones. I don't have any hidden ones because I don't have anything secretive, but you might. So that's a way to see everything, not just the ones that you know are there. And then if we type ls by itself, it won't work. It just runs a load of code and it will say that missing name, like you haven't given it internal environment. So that's why you have to do these parentheses at the end of a function in R, so it knows that it is a function. So ls works, but if you don't tell it R that it's a function, you don't give it the parentheses, you're going to get a load of error.
That's the source code for the ls function. So that's the code.
Is it?
Yeah. So it's actually the definition of the ls function.
Yeah, no.
So that's actually handy if you do have something where you don't know what the variables it needs or something, or why it's not working. If you just type the function in, it'll give you the code.
Yes, that would be handy if you're good at reading code, but myself, if I read this, I would be a bit confused. So I think what would probably be easier would just be doing help ls, and then it will open over here and it just puts it more in English. So if you were wondering, if you did that and then you could work out exactly what was going on with all this, good on you. But personally, if it's a more complicated function as well, if you don't know what's going on, I would definitely just try the help ls, and it will tell you what your arguments and what the stuff is that you need to put in there. Right, what's going on here? Like everything in R, ls is the name of an object, and entering the name of an object by itself prints the contents of the object. So here, if I was to do X, whatever my last assignment of X, it will tell me here. But the object ls contains the R code that makes ls function work. We'll talk more about this later, but like in Bash, you can also remove your object. So if I did rm brackets x, rm means remove, and now up here x has been removed. So just again, so x alt dash 1 to 5 as a vector, put x back in, I can take x out. You can also do this by going up here, and then you have all your variables, and you can click and then you can just delete that. So if I wanted to remove minute, click the sweepy away broom, deletes it. But yes, if you want to be fancy, you can just do it in the code chunk. RM X will remove X. And if you have lots of things in your environment and you want to delete all of them, which I regularly have, you can do list equals ls. So that is calling that list function. So obviously, as we know, if we did list, rm list removes that. I'm not actually going to run this because I don't want to remove all those other things. But if you guys run it, it will remove. I wonder if it would be the same as, I suppose, me running. Could I do CX? Let's just see if this works. Nope, didn't like that. Do
you do a list object instead of a vector?
Huh?
Does it need a list?
Well, no, that's what I mean. If it would work. Yeah, you need you can do that, will work for you guys. I just don't want to run it because I don't want to remove the stuff in my environment.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So if you guys run that, you'll then see that these will disappear.
Caesar says you do need quotes, yeah.
I do need quotes for my, if I would I still keep it as list, Caesar, or would I just have it as the vector?
Vector, apparently.
Oh, so if I was to do, yeah, there we go, that works. So same thing as using list, but I just don't want to delete my other things, so I'm not doing it. So essentially, guys, that is the same as for you guys. Not last, list. So if I do that, you can now see that, well, tell me it won't find those things because I already deleted them, but you can see my environment is nice and empty and clean. In this case, we've combined the two. So that's combining the function ls with the function remove, and anything inside the innermost parentheses is evaluated first. So that means it would first do the list function. So it would call your list of things in your environment, and then it would delete them as long as there was no error. If instead we use the operator button in reverse, there'll be unintended side effects, or you may get an error message. So obviously here you're trying to essentially set up a function in a function as a variable, which is not going to work. So you must contain some names or character strings. One of the good things about when R does something unexpected, it does create these error messages, which are really useful for when you're trying to work out why something's not working. You can also click here in Our Markdown Show Traceback, and it will show you where it starts. So it started reading your code, and then it got an error here because instead of getting names or character strings, it got the an arrow and then the list function. So that's a really good way to be able to work out when your code isn't working, why is this? And then the main wonderful thing with R is R packages. So R has, I wonder actually how many packages there are in R, thousands, but if anyone actually knows, that would be a cool number to know. So you can actually add functions to R by writing your own package, or there's actually lots and lots of available packages that are available to you, written by other people. There's over 10,000 packages available on CRAN, the Comprehensive R Archive Network. Oh my word, I did not know what CRAN stood for, guys. And there's a lot of ways that you can install the R packages and use them. So here, installed packages, you can see what packages are installed by typing installed packages. So let's just try that down here. So if I just write installed tab packages and I run that, I have a lot of packages installed. It'll tell me everything that I've got installed at the moment. And then you can also install packages by typing install package, and then the package name. Oh, CRAN has 16,422. No, 16,431. Oh, it's a bit of a standoff between you boys, which is right. So here, install packages, and now I want to install tidyverse. So I would just do install packages, tidyverse, and now it is installing the package tidyverse. As you can see up here, I've got this little arrow square block telling me that I could have stopped it if I wanted to. And now I've installed tidyverse. I want to be able to use it, so I would use library. That's why I started writing library. And this time you don't need the commas, you just do tidyverse. And now I've installed it, but I've also made it accessible for me to use. What else have we got up here? You can update installed packages by typing update packages. So let's change install to update tidyverse. It's already up to date, so it didn't take any time. And then you can remove a package with remove packages, package name. So if I were to do remove package tidyverse, it would then delete it. I could then install it again. Install packages. Oh yeah, updating loaded packages. Yes, just it's gonna get upset with me because I'm trying to do so much. Oh, it's gonna start my session. And then again, library tidyverse to make sure you're actually able to use that. Now, anyone got any questions? And then we've got some little challenges, and then we are done.
It's 53 past, so we don't have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you just want to quickly try in your own R window, if you just want to do, your insert an R chunk, or you can write this straight into your R script. But if people just want to try, do, mass, install that as a value, input that as a value into mass. So 47.5, assign that to mass. And then if you do age, 122. And then if we were going to do mass times 2.3, what would we get? Anyone wants to try that? I don't know if I should wait or do it for a short time.
There are prizes.
So if anyone wants to type the answer in for me before I do it, that would be cool, just so I know you guys are. Yep. Yeah. Caesar, nice. We got mass is mass. Whoop. There we go. There we go. So you got mass 109.25. And then we've got age. If anyone wants to do the age one. I mean, I didn't even use R, but I'm pretty sure age 122 minus 20 is 102.
You're a
but I might be wrong.
RStudio.
Oh my God, I'm basically a calculator. Yeah. Nice. So how would I compare mass to age? If we're thinking about earlier when we did those comparisons with the equals and like the greaters and less to a less than. So yes, you could do, as Pete says, mass equals age. False, but is mass larger than age? Another way that you could do it would be mass larger, not capital letters, age equals true. And then how would I clean up my working environment? How would I delete age and mass? Let's see, easy way. Remove, yes, you could do, as Pete said, you could do remove list equals ls, But as I don't want to delete everything in my environment, I'm going to do remove age mass. So now those variables have been removed. And yeah, Vicky said, now I don't know if it would work if you put it in, and also Vicky, it would have to be a comma, not a full stop. But if I just reassign mass and age, I don't, oh, whoops, yeah, whatever. If we did it that way, no, it does work. Good to know. And then, yeah, just make sure you're using a comma, not a full stop. And then how would I install Ggplot? This is the name of Ggplot. How would I install that? Yes, nice, Pete. Pete, you get 2 gold stars. So as Pete said, you do install package. Oh wait, no, packages. No, wait, it is package. Why did I get a little error mark? It's because quote marks. Yeah. There we go. Install packages. Oh, piece of paper. Okay, I'm just going to click cancel because I just don't want to freak my thing out.
What would happen if you did what Vicky said with the no quotes for a Ggplot?
Install packages, no quotes. So it won't know that Ggplot is a package. It will think you need to put it in the quote mark so it knows it's a package and to look for that.
Could you sign that as a variable and then pass it to it? Like,
oh god, yeah. If you wanted to be complicated, what I mean, you could. So
this
if you
is
did
like a way of sort of what it is looking for. Right?
Yeah. So if you did Ggplot, alt dash Ggplot2 alt dash, and then we did Ggplot2. Let's see if that works. So we've assigned that Ggplot2 means this. Yes, it does work. I'm just going to cancel that because I've already got it installed. So yeah, key points, guys. Use RStudio to write and run our programs. You can use the normal arithmetic operators and mathematical functions. Easy way to assign variables is our arrow, our operator, which can be done using alt, option, and dash. ls, parentheses, is a way to list the variables in your program. rm is a way to remove. And then we have install packages to install things. And then once you've installed them, you have to use library. So yeah, that is the end of this the first intro to R. Now, if anyone has any questions, I mean, it's 1 o'clock, but if anyone has any questions, let me know.
Thanks so much, Chloe. That was awesome. You did a great
so
job. It was a little last minute, but thank you so much.
I mean, I literally did this an hour before we started. To zoom in, Vicky, it is, are you Mac or Windows? Mac, it's Command and the equal sign. So here I'm zooming in, or to zoom out, pressing the minus key. And Windows, I imagine, I think I wrote it at the top. No, I don't know. I'm guessing it'll be Control or Alt or Option, one of those, and the plus or minus sign.
Okay.
Can you get the recording? Yes, guys, we'll be putting on the website. Yeah, website, we'll be able to put it up there. If you don't know the website, we can copy and paste it in here now, or it is on the Slack, or you can email any of us and ask us. And yeah, if you have any questions, just let us know, and can we please post it here. Is it compulsory to join through the Slack? It's not compulsory, but that's where we have most of our discussions and post updates and notifications. So it's really useful to be on the Slack. And if you have any problems, it's where we do questions and answers. So students who are struggling with their code, they'll regularly post a question like, oh, this isn't working, why not? And one of us will help them work it out. So no, it's not compulsory to join the Slack, but I definitely recommend if you're going to be having to do a lot of coding and you need like automatic support, because obviously you can email people or Google it, but sometimes it's quite easy just to open Slack and be like, this isn't working, please help me. So yeah, and I'm just going to stop sharing this and then put the where's the website link? I'm just going to get the website link.
Yeah, speaking of like getting help and stuff, in 2 weeks time we're going to do project management with RStudio and seeking help. So it will be about sort of organizing your project in RStudio and then where to go, like Chloe was mentioning Google and Stack Overflow, but actually how to search for those problems and find help. So 2 weeks time we'll run that session.
And then for our website, I'm just gonna whoop. And yes, as Natalia says, if you email us, we can put you on the list of people that are a part of the club, and so every week we'll email out the Zoom link for the upcoming meeting, and we'll also post on Twitter saying that we're going to be doing one, so you can direct message us, and also we post it in the Slack. So thank you, Caesar. That's the Twitter account if you want to follow that. So there's lots of ways to get hold of us, and there's a link to join the Slack. Thanks, Pete. So yeah, Slack, Twitter, email, all of those.
Cool. We're 3 past, so I'm sure people can leave. If anyone has any questions or anything like that that you need answering right now, sure we can try and answer them, or the Slack and stuff. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay in contact.
Yeah, and I want to do the next one in 2 weeks.
And there is swag coming, so people who participate, you can look out for mugs and stickers come your way. So
exactly.
Get excited.
Awesome.
Get involved.
Yeah. Stickers and swag. Great. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining the first one of our little workshops. And yeah, hopefully see you again in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Big hand to Chloe again as well. Thanks so much.
You guys are too cute. Okay, right. Do I need to click stop recording? Yeah. And then how do I